Hello, everyone, dear IDU students. Within the framework of Introduction to Museology module, we are so glad today to welcome Professor Ahmed Ghoneim, who will give us a very interesting lecture about the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, where 20 royal mummies currently rest after being moved from Egyptian Museum of Tahrir in a magically historical parade earlier this year. Please let me first introduce Professor Ahmed Ghoneim. He is a professor at the Faculty of Economics and Political Science, Cairo University. He works as a consultant to several international and national organizations, including WIPO. He holds PhD in economics, and his main research area is world trade and economics of intellectual property rights. Since 2014, he appointed as cultural counselor of Egypt in Berlin and Vienna, and he was the head of the student mission in Austria and Germany. In 2018, he back to Egypt as a professor of economics at Cairo University. And in August 2019, he been appointed as the head of the economic authority of the National Museum of Egyptian Civilizations. I'm going to leave you now with such exciting lectures held by Professor Ahmed Ghoneim that will be source of your inspirations and will contribute effectively to your knowledge and practice.
Thank you, Nadine. Just a correction, seems that Riham forgot to tell you about. There was a typo in the bio. It should be 2020 and not 2019 when I was appointed as the head of authority for the Egyptian Museum of Civilization. Hello, everybody. This lecture is, I expect, to be different from the normal course you have for different reasons. Number one is that I am sure 100% that I don't share the same background as you do. I'm an economist by training and profession. And number two, it includes a lot of mystery questions about what is different about this museum and why it's different from all others, and what's unique about it, whether regarding the parade and the timing of the parade, which is another issue that a lot of you are curious to know. And number three, how is it being compared to the gem or the Grand Museum when it opens? I believe all of you have such questions in mind, but let me start by the first question, which many people ask me about, including very close people to me. Why an economist is heading such a kind of museum? And that's a very important question to start with. I remember quite well. I'll tell you the story, and then maybe you will understand afterwards why it is that different from other fields, and why did I accept such a position. I was in the lockdown in April 2020, having my family in one of the resorts, and then a friend called me and he told me, Ahmed, what do you think about NMEC? NMEC is the abbreviation of the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, which I have the honor to be heading at this stage. And then I told him, I never heard about this museum before, what it's about, and why an economist should be dealing with such kind of museum. I mean, go and search for an archaeologist or for somebody who studied antiquities or heritage. But anyway, I told him I'll sleep over it and I'll reply back to you. It was a Friday night. And on Saturday morning, I called him and I told him, well, I Googled NMEC, but I still see no point of me as an economist heading such an entity. Yet I'm open for discussion. Saturday noon, I received a call from the minister, His Excellency Dr. Khaled Al-Amani, and he told me, why don't you come and meet me? So I thought, you know, it's a kind of meeting that I will say, I apologize. I see no point in heading such an institution. So I went to meet him, and it was a Saturday afternoon. And I told him, what's your point? Why are you asking me as an economist to be heading such an institution? So he started explaining that it has been turned into by law into an economic authority. And so to explain to you, all the museums in Egypt are under the Higher Council of Antiquities, and with the exception of two museums. Number one is the Grand Museum. It is an economic entity by itself. And number two is NMEC. It is also an economic entity by itself. So he thought of it this way, since it turned into an economic authority, maybe it should be run by an economist or somebody in the field. I mean, a finance person or a marketing person or a business administration person. Anyway, he thought of me, but so I asked him, why me? I mean, there are a lot of other people in the area. So he said, you have been serving as a cultural counselor, so you have already this kind of overlapping tradition and experience with culture as well. So you might be interested in such a position. So, and he offered me to visit the place. I visited the place and I started to think of the idea. This is when I visited the place, I have to confess that I fell in love with the place. It's not a museum by any means. It's something much bigger than the museum. It is a national project, huge in size, has a lot of facilities, and I thought of, university is always there. I can always return back to it, having a sabbatical or whatever is something. But going in an executive position in such a growing and very promising national project is something very challenging. So I accepted the position, and this has been an honor. That was in August 2020. So I'll complete 1 year very soon in 2 months. And then it was, going slowly. There was always this anticipation that it will open soon. But due to Corona, due to COVID-19, and due to the expectation of His Excellency, our President, will open it, things have been always postponed several times. So this made me, feel that the potential is there, and I want to get ready for the opening second or minute or hour or day, which nobody knows exactly when it's going to happen. Yet it happened on the 3rd of April 2021, and it has been open for the public on the 4th of April 2021. And then when the mummies arrived, it was the 18th of April 2021, and since that it has been open. What is different about this project and why it is different from all other museums, and what makes it so unique in Egypt, and I would say the whole world, that's what we will see during this presentation. So I would ask Karim to kindly put the presentation and share the screen, and I will go in each slide and talk freely. Some of the issues will be mentioned, some of the issues will not be on the slide, but we will know the story behind this entity. Karim, can we share the screen, please? Karim? Riham?
Yes, Dr. I was sharing.
It's shared, يا فندم. Dr. Ahmed, it's shared.
It's not shared. It says join the conversation. It's not shared to me. That's not the presentation.
Yes, it's shared now.
It's not shared still.
I'm sharing.
Okay. Now, the history of NMEC goes back to 1982. It was initially a UNESCO project. The UNESCO has launched based on the request of the government, the Egyptian government, a global campaign for the establishment of two museums. One is the Nubia Museum in Aswan, and the other is NMEC in Cairo. NMEC has a very unique position, being located in Fustat, and Fustat is the first Islamic capital for Egypt a long while ago. So it has a very distinguished position, being in the first Islamic capital of Egypt, and being in the neighborhood of several very distinguished kind of places, historical places and antiquities places, including the Islamic Museum and the Coptic Museum and several other places. Besides, it overlooks a lake, that's Ain al-Sira Lake, which has a story by itself, but yet it's a very distinguished place. Now, NMEC was actually launched and people started working in it in 2002. So we're actually talking about almost 20 years. 20 years, NMEC has been actually being built. And why it took that long? For several reasons. Number one, can you please put your, I know somebody have his unmuted, so can you kindly mute yourself? Number one is, Karim, did you mute yourself? I didn't ask you to change the slide. Can you please be back? Yes, please. So number one, it has been almost been built for 20 years, and it has been taking that long time for several reasons, including the huge size. We're talking about 34 acres of land. That's a huge place to build on it. It's not all built. There is a lot of landscape in it. Number two, that needs a lot of budget. And one of the things that you should know, that this project has been merely financed by the Egyptian government. So it's not like the Grand Museum, where it heavily depends on a loan coming from Japan and some kind of contributions from Japan. NMEC is different. NMEC has been a UNESCO project, but it has been merely financed by the Egyptian government. So this means that it needs a lot of money, and this money has not been available all the time, either for economic reasons or for political reasons. And this meant that it has took that long in order to appear finally in 2021. NMEC is different in several regards because it links the past to the present as well as the future. And that's very distinguishable in the case of NMEC. One of the main issues of NMEC is, and why it's different from other museums, simply most of the museums you go to or you will go to focus on, especially in Egypt, focus on one period of time or one theme. So you'll go to the Coptic Museum or the Islamic Museum or the Grand Museum when it opens, or to the Tahrir Museum. You'll find that they merely focus on one theme or one era. Most of the museums in Egypt will be focusing on the Pharaonic era, and that's of course understandable, but as well as the Islamic and the Coptic are more focused on one theme. Yet the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization is different in that sense. Why? Because it goes through history, starting from 35,000 years, we're talking about pre-dynastic era, going by the Pharaonic era with the different families and different segments and different scenes seen in this era, and then going by the Romanic and Greek, and then going through the Coptic and Islamic, and finally the contemporary era. So this means it's different in that sense. It is different because it takes you through history, in a journey, in an experience, starting from very old ages and ending up today. It even ends with some heritage pieces for very well-known, either recently died or are still alive, kind of artists who have special pieces. They are already displayed in the museum. And in that sense, it's one of the unique aspects that make NMEC very different from other museums in Egypt. Can we please change the slide? This is a photo of the main core corridor leading to the main gallery or the main hall, the exhibition hall in NMEC. And as you see, it has a beautiful architecture. It's a unique architecture. It was mainly designed by an Egyptian architecture called Dr. Ghazali Kiseba. He's an Egyptian, but as well there was some contribution from a Japanese architecture as well, which makes it by itself a piece of art in how it was built. And they took care of every little detail in this place. And it's very unique because it mixes practicality with richness, with huge size, with the ability as a showroom to have it very easily, the things displayed. So in that sense, it's very unique. NMEC's vision is actually to present, and that's another distinguishable aspect of NMEC, is the tangible and intangible Egyptian heritage with a cultural framework, and that allows visitors to easily relate to the objects while acquiring a deep understanding of the Egyptian culture in a welcoming and exciting environment. So each display window has a story by itself. So you will find one that talks about women. The other will be talking about art. We're not talking about objects, but we're talking about a display window where you will see different aspects related to medicine, for example, or to architecture. Moreover, the different such kind of themes, architecture, they will be linked over history. So you will see, for example, architecture or furniture. How was it in the Pharaonic era? And then you will see it in the Islamic era, and you will see it in the Coptic era. So you can relate how civilization was there in a very smooth way, and in one hall that tells you the whole story through almost 1,600 objects. And that itself is unique by all means, so that you can visit and you can memorize and you can imagine all the Egyptian civilization throughout different eras, starting by all this time and going it by a cross-sectional type of analysis that makes it very easy and very interesting and very amazing to the visitor. Adding to that, NMEC is not aiming only to be a museum. NMEC is aiming to be a cultural hub. And this kind of cultural hub, I would say it is unique because it relates the different aspects of Egyptian civilization. We don't focus only on antiquities, but we focus on related arts. So, for example, we have different halls, whether they will have theaters, and I'll show you some of the theaters we have, or we have a cinema room, or we have different classrooms which are used for pupils and students in school and university to do things related, different arts related to what they see in the related to antiquities. And in that sense, we aim to make it a cultural hub. What do I mean by a cultural hub? I do mean that people go for a dose of having a cultural kind of experience. How do you define a cultural experience? It's not an antiquities experience. It's not visiting a museum, but feeling the civilization, going through different aspects, whether I'm talking about shows, different arts and shows, dancing shows even, or movies to be displayed in the different halls we have, and relating this to the idea of civilization. So that's what we aim in NMEC. and we've been working on it. And so far, it's going to materialize very soon by having different related events to civilization. Can we move, please, Karim? NMEC aims also to provide a dynamic and innovative vision of the past, current, and of Egyptian civilization. In fact, one of the main aspects we focus on in this project, I would say a project, it's not only a museum, is using a lot of technology. We have a lot of interactive kind of screens that allow the visitor to interact, and when he wants to know more about a specific object, he can click on it and he can see the history, why was it related, how was it made, and so on. We have already not only interactive screens, but we have screens that tells the story behind specific objects. The most important objects we have already screens that tells a short film or a short movie about this object and why was it made, what is the importance of it, how it was developed, and so on and so forth. So we aim in this project, and in that sense, I do mean the future, to link the past and the present and the future. We also aim by having a lot of technology, not only to use the technology per se, but to be talking the language of the time we're living in. People at this stage, and especially the young generation, don't talk except technology. So we aim at having a lot of QR codes, for example, so that visitors can openly open their mobiles and read whatever they want about whatever they're seeing in the museum. And actually, a lot of the information is displayed on our website regarding the mummies and regarding the different objects, so that people are aware, and we're using the language, as I said, of the era to make it more convenient for our visitors. We also aim at being a communication center on Egyptian civilization. As I said, I don't see this project as a museum. I see it as a cultural hub, having its core or its heart a museum, and a different and a distinguished museum in the sense that I talked about, that takes you or takes the visitor through a journey of different civilizations, starting from the pre-dynastic era and ending up with the contemporary era. We aim also to have not only a cultural hub, but we aim at having a huge research center and a scientific center. And I will tell you about this idea of a research and scientific center very shortly when we come to it, but that's what we are aiming at, and we have the capability of being like this. Can we move, please? Can we move, please? Yes. Also, one of the things that we're aiming at is that people so far, and that's what makes our project so interesting, people so far, when they go to a museum, they want to have something beside the museum. The idea of going to a museum when you were young is that I'm going to visit a museum. We're aiming at changing that. We're aiming that you spend the whole day full of entertainment, having a dose of culture, dose of antiquities, dose of high technology aspects, and those of entertainment. So we aim at having a number of restaurants and cafes that, again, we're trying as much as possible to link it to culture. So those kind of cafes or restaurants will be serving something related to culture. For example, one of the distinguished things I had a visitor 10 days ago or something. She was offering, and we're having to have her in our pipeline. This lady makes biscuits and chocolate. And what is new about that? The new thing about that is that the biscuits she makes, she uses Egyptian ingredients in it, things that are traditionally made in Egypt. So, for example, I don't know if you've been to Egypt or not. There is something called dome. It is sold in Aswan, or Hab el-Aziz. Those are kind of herbs and specific stuff that are only sold in Egypt and found in Egypt. So she aims of having biscuits, normal biscuits, but not taking the shape of a normal biscuit. They take the shape of a special object that we have. It can be Pharaonic or Islamic or Coptic or whatever is it. But the ingredients of it, they are made of specific Egyptian ingredients, which make it, again, very unique and very special. And in that sense, we're trying to mix and link the kind of entertainment, the kind of experience you have by having, I would say, a journey into the Egyptian civilization by all means, whether this is related to antiquities or whether it's related to culture or whether related to art or whether related to even food in that sense. Can we move, please? This is, yes, please. Please. This is some of the collections we have. We have very distinguished collection, and as you see, the first object shown was Pharaonic. If we can go back, please. Can we go back? Back. Yes. Yes, please. Kareem, are you there? Yes, this is Pharaonic, and this has been back from the US. This is Islamic. This is contemporary, and this is again Pharaonic. So that's kind of some of the collection we have. This is Pharaonic, and this is again Islamic. So that's the kind of experience a visitor has by looking and having different objects related to different eras in the same hall. Yes, please. The Mummies Hall, that's another distinguishable piece of our museum, is that we have 20 royal mummies in the museum. And that's related to what Naveen has said at the beginning regarding the Golden Parade that all the world was happy to see during April 2020. It was very unique. Those 20 royal mummies are located in our museum, and that's their last destination. Some people might ask what is different about they have been located in Tahrir Museum. So what's different about being them located in NMEC at this stage? I would tell you what is different about being them located in NMEC is how they are displayed. In the Tahrir Museum, they were displayed in a room, but in NMEC, they are not displayed in a room. They are rather displayed in a grave. You feel when you're going into the Mummies Hall that you're going to a grave in Wadi al-Muluk, and that makes it very distinguishable. It is dark, the light effect is highly used, and even some of the decorations that you normally find when you go in a grave in the Pharaoh's era, you'll find them actually in the ceiling in such a hole in NMEC. Moreover, we display if there is a story, so we have a kind of a CAT scan, for example, in Seknen Ra, because as you probably know, he was killed during a battle, and that's why his body is a little bit different and the mummy is a little bit different, whether we're talking about the position of the hand or we're talking about the head, how it was injured. So we're showing how this in a CAT scan for the visitors so that they know the story behind this brave man. We also display some of the belongings that were found actually in the grave with those royal people, whether it's some of the stuff that they used to use or there are some of the stuff that they believe that they will use after they are back to life again, according to their beliefs. So the way and how we're using the different effects, whether it's the light effect or the surrounding effect or the display of the mummies itself, makes it very unique and very distinguishable for any visitor who wants to see the mummies, those royal mummies. So that's about the mummies hall. Can we please move? And definitely, I don't know you've seen the mummies before or not. You can get very close to them and you can see the very special characteristics, for example, of Queen T and how her lovely hair is still there, or you can see the teeth of the kings and the queens and how they are still in shape. So you can see a lot of very little things that makes it very interesting for you to see how those people were great enough to have the bodies still kept in such a good position till now. This dye is a dye house that goes back, that was found, we did not move it, that goes back to the Fatimist era, the Islamic Fatimist era, and there are only two in the whole world, one in Morocco and the other one is in NMEC. The good thing about it is that some people think there are some pieces of bricks, but they're not bricks, as you see that in the picture. This is a dye house, and you can actually find some traces of colors in such a kind of bricks, which makes it again very unique to be in such a place. And that was, I would say, coincidentally, because this was in place, and NMEC was built afterwards. So we did not move the dye house to be in NMEC. That was actually located, and then NMEC was chosen to be in this position. This dye house actually has, beside it, we will see it in a photo, in a picture later, has a Roman theater around it, which again makes it very distinguishable if we aim at having a cultural event. So you will actually have the music beside the antiquity or the heritage site that you have. And again, that is very unique in the whole world to be able to use such kind of two things and link them together. Can we please move? In NMEC, we have one of the very up-to-date conservation and research center. Yes, please. Can we move, please? We have labs, restoration labs, that are very, very unique. I would not go through the technical details, but I would tell you that we have some of the equipments that you can only find in Louvre Museum in Paris and Abu Dhabi. We have equipments that are able to analyze the DNA of the different monuments we have. We have equipments that are able to trace many of the heritage aspects that are not easily dealt with in any place in the world. We have equipments that actually can keep the monuments in a very good shape without affecting the humidity or the heat, and don't use any chemicals to clean them up from any kind of insects or any kind of aspects that can be found when they come in. So the labs that we have and the research centers are very up to date, and that's why I'm telling you we are going to be one of the leading research and laboratories centers in the region. And by the region, I would mean whether I'm talking MENA region, the Middle East, North Africa, or I would be talking about the Africa region, because we have the ability, and even we can compete on the world level regarding the equipments and the facilities we have. The restoration centers as well are very unique. We have different restoration centers. One is dedicated for wood, one is dedicated for the heavy stuff, one is dedicated for textiles, one is dedicated for papers, and so on and so forth. And one of the things that we took the decision in NMEC by NMEC boards is to open such kind of restoration centers for the visitors, for the public, because what you see in such restoration centers is science mixed with talents, and that's what makes it very unique. So actually you see what's behind the scenes of bringing such objects and monuments to the visitors, and that in itself is an experience that you cannot easily find in any place on the world. Whenever you go to any museum, You don't know what's the story behind bringing such objects. And that's why we thought, why don't we make this available for the visitors and for the public? And we actually were able to pass such a decision, and we did that. And now they can be visited by the normal visitor when if he, she, or he wants to see such kind of centers. Can we move, please? Those are the units we have, and here are some photos that tells you what my great team is doing regarding the different aspects that we use and how we restore the different monuments and different heritage pieces we get. This is just a story to show how updated it is and how talented and very skillful people we have at NMEC. Yes, please. Again, that's some photos that tells you how they work, how fine their work is. And actually, it's amazing to see how they can put a piece of glass, or how can they restore a piece of wood back to its shape. It is really science mixed with talents. Yes, please. Those are the labs that we have as well. Yes. So you can imagine how advanced the equipments we have and how talented the people are. And I won't go in the type of technical details of the inorganic antiquities labs and the organic antiquities labs. Those are technical details that I don't think it's the right time to talk about in such a lecture. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, move, please. Those are the most important two labs we have. Those are the anoxia lab and the microbiology lab. And as you see, those are how that's how the monuments, how the mummies were transferred. And those labs are very advanced. They make sure that nothing is affecting the mummies or the monuments when they get in, and without affecting, as I said, the degree of humidity or the degree of heatness or any kind of chemicals are involved. So they are very advanced labs in that sense. Yes, please. Those are other biological labs that we have, deals with different issues, like, as I said, the DNA lab or the human remains lab, or different aspects, as you see. And again, those are very talented people who deal with such issues. And by the way, they are merely Egyptians. So this all is run by Egyptians in that sense. And we're definitely proud of that, that we're able to deal with such sophisticated labs with the Egyptian experience. Definitely, they have a lot of training and a lot of interaction with labs outside and in different countries. And definitely, they had a lot of scholarships and workshops abroad. But again, they are able to deal with such kind of labs alone. Yes, please. Those are other types of labs we have, the chemistry and the physics labs that we have. Yes. Again, those are some photos that show you how advanced the equipments that we have. Yes. 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 When it comes to culture and entertainment, yes, this is the theater we have. And by the way, in a few days, we're hosting an event, and I will tell you again how we're mixing the culture with the heritage, with the antiquities. In this place, on the 5th of this month, 5th of July, we're having a documentary movie. We're having the director of the movie presenting for the first time his movie about a lady who is actually an artist. This artist is living between Cairo and Fayoum in a village called Tunis village in Fayoum, and he has been presenting her work and her style of life. Again, that's how we think we're able to create this cultural hub, bringing in art, whether it is related to whatever she is doing in terms of artistic work, plus a movie, a documentary movie that's saying the story behind it in a place that is full of heritage. That's the idea that we're aiming to have. This theater has the capacity of 486 seats, and we have another theater, yes please, which is the Roman theater that can host up to 300. That's the one where the Die House is. So it's a different type of theater, and it can host up to 300 seats. And at the core of it is this Die House that I showed you a while ago. Yes, please. This is the cinema room. It can host up to 332 visitors. And again, what type of movies we're going to show, they will definitely, it's still not run, but we will definitely have movies related to culture and heritage. We'll not have normal commercial movies to be broadcasted there. We'll rather focus on things related to culture and heritage. One of the projects that we have in mind, we are in the pipeline, or we are having now, we're contracting a kind of a firm that is specialized in family entertainment. This firm is actually aiming at linking antiquities and whatever is there in the museum by showing things related to it in the cinema and having kids and family entertainment in the museum, only for this sake. It has a lot of good experience in Egypt and around the world. For the people from Egypt, they know Kidzania. So it's the same firm that will be doing this family entertainment in Egypt, in NMEC, sorry. And again, the kind of family entertainment will be linked to whatever is culture, and at the core of it definitely is the museum and the antiquities. Yes, please. We have a huge and stunning natural landscape. As you see, that's Ain al-Sira Lake, and that's the landscape we have, which is very beautiful, and it gives you the ability to do a lot of outside kind of events. We already had a number of events, again, that are related to culture, and we were able to link some kind of entertainment with a portion of visiting the museum. So we had exclusive visits in Ramadan, the holy month we have, where people can have their iftar or suhoor on the lake and then have an exclusive visit to the museum. In that sense, again, as I told you, we're trying to brand ourselves or position ourselves as a different and distinguished, unique cultural hub. At its core is a museum, but it is open for other aspects related to culture and heritage. Yes, please. Yes, please. This was NMEC. Let me, before opening the Q&A session, answer some of the different issues that you might think of. What makes us different from the Grand Museum? And I would say the Grand Museum is actually focusing on the Pharaonic era and mainly Tutankhamun collection. That's what distinguishes the Grand Museum, the gem. We are different because, as I said, we focus on the different civilizations that Egypt went through. We are promoting or branding ourselves as a cultural hub. We have the mummies, and that are the main different aspects that makes us different from the gem. The other question that a lot of people have been asking me about is the timing of the parade. A lot of people would say that the timing of the parade was wrong. Why? Because it was during the lockdown, and not a lot of people would visit Egypt during lockdown. As we all know, we're having the lecture in such a kind of mode simply because of the lockdown and because of the COVID-19 that's affecting the whole world and having a new norm, a new style of living and education. But I would say that this view is challenged because the timing was actually very well chosen. Having it during the lockdown and when the museums almost all over the world are closed implied that a lot of people all over the world have seen the parade. And that's number one. So if we're talking about the impact that this parade has created and having more than 60 channels broadcasting live stream the event by itself is a success. But other people would say, but those people will not visit Egypt at this stage because of COVID-19 circumstances. But what the parade did is that it actually stamped the memory in the brains of all the people who've seen it. And whenever the lockdown is over and whenever the ability to travel is back as normal, then definitely people will be a very well received and well desired destination because of this parade and its impact on all the people around the world, not only on the Egyptians. So whether we're talking about from an economic or a touristic point of view, the parade and the museum were right to open at this point of time, I would say yes. Even the timing was chosen on a Saturday, so that it's a weekend, so that a lot of people can see it. It was chosen at night, so that the people in the other part of the world sphere would be able to see it. So the timing in every detail was chosen to have a huge impact on the whole world. And I think we were able to do this. The revenue generated out of this parade and the touristic impact and the economic impact is yet likely to come after COVID-19 is over. But it does not mean that it will not happen. It will happen, but in the right time. And in that sense, I believe we were able to do the right thing at this stage. Number three, and that's the final thing, me, an economist, and the new thinking in the ministry, and that is led mainly by His Excellency Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, is to change the view on antiquities and the view on tourism. The idea of having them separate, or the idea of promoting a museum as a museum only, is an old-fashioned, depleted kind of idea. The new idea and the new kind of thinking that we're trying to promote is to link antiquities with education, with research, with culture, with entertainment, and that's what makes NMEC unique, and that's what we're aiming at in this phase in order to be able to become number one in that regard, whether on the local level as a cultural hub or on the regional level. There are other halls that will be open very soon. One is related to the temporary exhibitions, where we'll be hosting the textile museum in Egypt in this hall. And there is another, what we call the Capital Museum, which is a different kind of showing our monuments and our heritage by going up, let's say, 22 floors and seeing most of Cairo from above and using a lot of multimedia to educate the people and entertain them about the different sites they see from above. So those are the two halls that we're aiming to open very soon, and we're working as much as possible to make those things materialize, as we were able to make the main hall materialize, and we were able to impress the whole world with it. We aim, inshallah, to continue with this good work and to make it happen very soon. I'm almost done, and that's what exactly less than 1 hour by 5 minutes. So we can start the Q&A if you wish.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ghoneim, for such informative presentations. We are very impressed with the concept and the activities of the NMEC Museum. And we're welcoming the participant now to start asking questions. If any one of you has any question.
I do.
Hi, Wena.
Hi. So I actually have about 3 questions. Okay, so first of all, this place sounds more like a city. How many employees do you have?
Okay. And the second question?
The second question is, will you have special publications regarding the research the museum does or the exhibitions? Or
Okay, and the third?
And the third one, will this museum offer online programs or will it have its own YouTube channel?
Okay. Naveen, should I answer or should we take a list of round of questions?
I think, Dr. Ghoneim, it will be much better to answer one by one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, the employees we have so far, they are in the range of 280 employees. And let me tell you that part of the lake is already taken or outsourced. So the employees we have are those working for us, but we outsource a lot of activities like the security, like the cleaning. So definitely the numbers add up more than the 280s, but the people who belong to NMEC are 280, and a lot of the activities are outsourced. Regarding the other issue of publication, let's distinguish between 2 types of publications. If you're talking about scientific publication, yes, we have a lot of scientific publication, but the people working in the research field have been asking me to start to have their publications on the website. I'm a little bit reluctant to do this at this stage, simply because I'm a university professor. And as you know, there are certain standards that need to be applied if you are going to publish research. If they want to have it a kind of work in progress or working papers, then definitely we can have this. But again, a certain level of quality is needed. And I would rather keep it till they're able, definitely some of them did, to publish in well-reputed journals, and then we will have a certain section for it on our website. But the issue is, we still, from a legal point of view, as I showed you, we have a lot of facilities, research facilities, but we're not a university. We're not a research center by itself. And in that sense, there is some kind of legal obstacles in identifying ourselves as a research center. We are a museum and having in it a research center, but we're not a research center by itself. And that's a kind of a legal problem that we need to work on to solve it out, because research centers in Egypt have to be distinguished as a research center by themselves, which is not the case of NMEC so far. Are we going to have online programs? We definitely did already. We did a virtual tour, and it was for an international organization. It was on the margin of the executive meeting, and we had it a live streaming virtual tour. I'm not we're not, I won't say I'm not, but we're not so enthusiastic about putting everything online, simply because if we do this, then from an economic and from a marketing point of view, I will lose a lot of potential visitors. So I need to be very careful by allowing everything to be available online for visitors, because if I do this, then definitely nobody will visit NMEC, since they can see it online. And the multiplier effect of the visitors coming in NMEC and spending a night in Cairo and paying and buying souvenirs and will be lost. So due to COVID circumstances, we have already organized and we are organizing a number of virtual tours, but subject to a lot of scrutiny by making sure that it is not recorded, that we have the right, nobody has the right to broadcast except us, and so on and so forth. Because as I said, if we make everything available online, then definitely we'll lose a lot of potential revenue. But we started having some kind of Caesars and some kind of promoting documentary movies where those kind of things are available partially on our website and partially on the ministry's website as well. I hope I answered the questions.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? Naveen, there are other.
Do you mind, Dr. Ghoneim, until someone make up his question? Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm really interested in the intangible cultural heritage, and since you mentioned in the beginning that the NMEC Museum is already highlighting on both tangible and intangible, I'm very curious to know if the museum has a specific plan toward this intangible manifestation for the Egyptian cultures, programs or activities.
Well, actually, this is undertaken via two channels. Number one, in the main hall, you'll find a lot of maquettes, and you'll find a lot of traditions, like the way the ladies used to wear, or how the Nubian's house is from inside. And in that sense, it is trying to mix the intangible heritage that we're talking about. It does not display only objects, but it tells you the story, how people used to live, what is different between the different styles of living, what makes it different in a Nubian house. And in that sense, it's bringing a new aspect in museums that has not been brought before. That's number one. Channel number two is, as I said during the presentation, we aim at bringing in or making NMEC as a cultural hub. So what we aim for example, we aim at having the very well-known show called the Leila Kibira, the huge night, which is actually a Muppet show bringing in Egyptian culture and heritage all over the years in a special way, with Egyptian music, with characters that are very well known for kids, and it mixes here again a kind of civilization, a kind of heritage that is unique, to say, in the case of Egypt, and linking it to civilization. So that's how we aim at bringing this aspect. The third type of thinking we're aiming at is mixing heritage. So, for example, harp. The harp, which is a music instrument that is actually Egyptian, and we have the oldest harp in history already displayed in the main hall, and we got already one of the prominent harp player in Egypt, and she played the instrument, the music, in the hall. So the idea is to have music in museums. So this kind of mixing heritage with culture, with antiquities, is what brings in this idea of intangible kind of heritage that we're aiming to promote.
Thank you, Dr. Ghoneim, so much for your answer. Actually, we have a few other questions. We have Elena. Go ahead, Elena.
Good evening. I have
Good
two
evening.
questions and a half.
2 questions and a half?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The first question, you said one part of the museum is dedicated to dancing or different types of dancings. I would like to know more about this aspect as a dancer or a part-time dancer myself. The second one is what type of workshops do you provide now at the museum to take when we visit? And the half is, are you from Maser el-Adima? Because I will be staying in 1 month just in front of the museum in my partner's flat, and I would like to know if you're around to say hi.
Okay, so let me start by the half first. I actually go there every day, with the exception of weekends and public holidays. So definitely during your month, you can just pass by and say hi, and you say that you're in Dina, and then we met online, and definitely I'll take care of you, so you don't have to worry about this. Regarding dancing, I'm not sure I said that we're devoting half of the museum to dancing, because this can bring me into trouble, but definitely we're promoting dancing. But dancing not in every sense that you might think of. We're talking about cultural type of dancing. So anything that is related to culture, we are going to have it. I'm ready to have shows for it in the open air theater that I showed you, the Roman theater we have, as long as it's preserving the kind of quality and standards that we can have. So this is dancing, singing, playing music, are all different kinds of arts and all related to civilization. And again, that's what we aim for. So just to let you know again, on the 13th of this month, we're hosting the first musical event in the Roman theater, where we will have a kind of a group of 4, where the main core of it is the harp, and they will be playing Egyptian music in the open air for a number of people invited. We're not aiming at this stage to have it by selling tickets, not because I don't like money or because I don't like revenue, but simply because it's a trial and error, and I want to make sure when we kick off the right way. So I'm having it on a smaller scale, number one, and number two, due to COVID-19, I don't want to have big events where they can backfire, especially that we're trying as much as possible to take care of the precautionary measures in this regard. The workshops that we're having so far, since we started with COVID-19, all the activities have stopped. And then we were more getting in the opening phase. So we're all dedicated to the opening. But already we have in the pipeline a number of workshops being prepared, but they are mainly related to arts, whether they are talking about jewelry or they're talking about, for example, we are suggesting things related to perfume making, or we're talking about things related to some kinds of food that have ancient kind of Egyptian aspects in them. So those are the 3 types of workshops that we are already preparing, and we want to have them ready. But again, as I said, COVID-19 has been stopping us. And again, coming in summers, and a lot of people will be going on holidays. So I would rather say that starting September, we'll be back to work with full power.
Thank you very much about the dance. I was just curious to know, for example, if there are items like the Mandil Beuya or Pulhal in the museum or not.
There are some dresses that already there's one of the showcases where you'll find the different types of dresses coming for the different ladies from different parts of Egypt, whether we're talking about Siwa or we're talking about Fallaha or we're talking about Sina. So those dresses are there with the different jewelry. So I would say that the woman in this museum has the lion's share of many of the things shown in the display, and maybe Naveen can confirm this. We have a lot of one of the showcases showing how ladies were acting. We have one with their kids. We have one that shows what kind of cooking and bread, and we have actually, I don't know you know this or not, the cupcake is actually since the Pharaonic era, and we have one that's actually a real one. In the showcase in the main hall, we have a showcase that shows the instruments that have been made. The first, how they call it? They call it somebody who lost her toe in her leg. It was a queen, and how they made a piece for this lady. We have this. We have a lot of jewelry in the museum. In different eras, whether it's Pharaonic or modern era. So the women have a lot of the lion's share in this museum.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to coming to the museum next month.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Elena.
Dr. Ahmed, we do have another questions. I guess this is one from your student. She called Dina Hassanin. She would like,
student?
Yes, your student. She's special.
Where?
She didn't mention actually. She said that she one of your student, and she has her master degree on public administration, and she would like to know your opinion. If would you recommend her to specialize in heritage management as in her PhD research? She would like to know your academic opinion on this.
I'm reading now what this is a general kind of that's not related to the lecture, but let me tell you here, all of you, something. Try to be one of the few. In what sense? The era we're living in, where most of the people specialize in one thing that all of the people are specializing in, is not the right thing. So don't do a herd behavior type of attitude where you follow your colleagues. Try to be different. Try to be one of the few and not one of the many. That's number one. Number two, it's not the time of main discipline. It is the time of interdisciplinary, where people now mix everything with everything. So you being specialized in public administration is not enough, but being specialized in public administration with cultural management or heritage management, that makes you unique. So in general, try to be one of the few and try to have the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach. The old traditional school of following the herd behavior, or for example, as in the case of Egypt, you should go to the faculty of engineering or the faculty of medicine because you got a score that allows you to do this. This is wrong. What you're doing is that try to be distinguished, try to be unique. And as well, when thinking this way, think in the market, think the opportunities for work. So having a PhD in something very distinguishable or very unique by itself is good, but you need to ensure that there is a market for it. I remember, and all the Egyptians here remember the Egyptian movie where a guy got his PhD in Egyptian letter called Hatta. Well, he's distinguished, is unique, but it doesn't have a market. So what you're doing is the right thing, because the cultural heritage and the culture management and heritage management is on a rising trend, not only in Egypt, but all over the world. So definitely you're doing the right thing. The other thing is that you're trying by this master's even, or this diploma that you're having where I'm now teaching you, is something different and unique. So again, you're doing the right thing. Having different backgrounds and having different practical experience is what makes value added, is what makes you different, is what makes you distinguished, provided there is a market for it. So the answer to your question simply is a big yes.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Does any one of you have further questions?
Great. If no questions are there.
I think because you covered everything. Yani, actually, you provided a very...
Well, actually, I think 2 hours is too long, Niveen. So actually 1 hour and a half is a max of any kind of lecture. Otherwise, people get bored and tired. So I'm happy if there are no other questions as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Ghoneim. I think we don't have any further questions. And we would like to thank you deeply on your time.
It's my pleasure.
And your interesting talks. You provided new insights on the museums in general, because they were not expecting that much details about the NMEC. You provided different perspective from the economic perspective of the projects, and also the kind of activities and the role of the museums itself as a research facilities and other issues. We would like to thank you greatly, Dr. Ghoneim. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niveen. Thank you, all of you. Take care and have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Shukran.